going to, work on your mindset in terms of that. And it's something that it's going to be something a little bit new for you, I guess, in terms of that speech.
Well, she's got a very big event in the morning, Luke. She's got her session with me.
That's even bigger.
That's a very big event.
That's even bigger. More pressure there for sure from you than anyone else in an audience. That's for sure. Hi to Kat says good morning to Luke and Tony as well. So I guess the idea, and it was interesting to see the owner of this company that does the property flips and helps out mentoring people. They actually said today that it is quite easy to do this strategy. It is really simple to do the strategy, but it's not easy, right?
100%. So I talk about
what we do, right?
You go, mate. So I talk about the 10, 15, 75. So 10% being the knowledge. So your success, doesn't matter what it is. It might be in property investing, in small business, whatever it is. 10% will come from knowledge, 15% will come from skills, and 75%
right up here
comes from between your ears. And so when someone talks about things are simple, they're just not easy. And I use that saying quite often. I mean, I use plenty of sayings, as you know, but I use that saying quite often, that it is simple. These strategies, once you understand them, they're simple enough. It's just a matter of wash, rinse, repeat, but do it enough times that you're successful. Don't wash, rinse, repeat once and go, oh, well, this doesn't work. This is a whole load of crap. Because here's the thing. If it was easy, well, there's that, but it's also your other shirt too, which is patience. If it was easy, then everybody would do it.
She said this many times today,
I'm a big believer that it's the universe testing out people who are serious and who aren't that serious. Because plenty of people think that they want the $1 million. We've talked about this before, mate. It's about, well, hey, I want the $1 million, but in between me and $1 million is a whole lot of blood, sweat and tears and hard work. Well, I'm not quite prepared to do that. So hence, I don't get the $1 million. But the people who are consistent, persistent, determined, keep going, get knocked down, get back up, get knocked down and down and down, get back up, those people will eventually be successful. And it's patient, hustle, absolutely. So it's micro hustle, macro patience, to use Gary V's
it was
vernacular.
Really interesting today. Obviously the lady who was conducting this property event here in California was actually quite hard and really aggressive in her nature to say that if you guys want to do this, that you're gonna have to put in the work. She said, I don't need to be here. I have made my money. I could shut up this and close it all up and sell off the company, and I could just go and live a peaceful life. She actually had, unfortunately, her husband pass away, who was the joint owner in the company, only a year ago. She's continued on with that legacy that they put together, and now in a situation where she doesn't have to work. She doesn't have to be up on stage and try and help other people. But it's something that she loves to do. But she wants to really get across that message is put in the work, and it is interesting.
It's that simple. It's that simple.
Super interesting, Tony, to see someone keep fulfilling that. And I guess I am in a similar situation in what I do. I could just really fold up and, and not really do too much. And I've got the cash flow coming through with my properties. I don't really need to do too much, but I choose to do this. I choose to live this path.
Well, it comes down to your why, Luke. It comes down to your why do you want to do it, and it comes down to what is it that you're trying to do. And, another saying that I use is that you haven't come this far to only come this far. So you haven't got to where you are today to then pull up stumps. So that's not the sort of person that you are. I've got to know you very well, and I know that you just wouldn't be able to sit still. So it's like, well, what do I? No, but I say that. I say that respectfully, right? So I say that respectfully, and it's like, well, you want to do something else. You want to help other people. You're out there, volunteering at Lifeline. You're giving of yourself with your Feed Up Friday events, a whole range of things. And so, it's about understanding why do you want something. And what is it that you actually want, and keep working towards it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move on to the next point in regards to, having these ideas come up, because, I'm a property buyer's agent. We look at a buy and hold strategy. I've got some other little strategies that go on in the background in my own personal portfolio. But the property flipping is another thing, another kind of insight. I'm going to LA and experiencing things that are going on over here. Do you actually, how far do you look into these other strategies? Is it a case of joint venturing with someone over in LA to build up that rapport? Do you have about 5 or 10 businesses rolling? This whole thing about diversifying from what you're doing, What do you think behind that, Tony? There is one sense of getting
Yes.
towards a path, but sometimes it's going to section a bit.
There's nothing wrong with multiple sources of income, right? So that there's, it's important. It's important actually to have multiple sources of income, but you've got to see, does it take you to in line with your goal? That's the point I'm trying to make. And so, for you to go into flipping is not that far removed from where you're at the moment, because you guys are finding opportunities out there for for your clients. You're always coming across different opportunities. It could be a flip opportunity, right? And so it's a matter of, well, do you want to extend into that? Now, obviously, then there's a whole lot of challenges with flipping, because you're going to do it yourself, you're going to engage a team, you've got to manage a team, etc., etc. But there's nothing wrong with doing it. But what I would encourage people to do is start with one, and then move to two, and from two, and move to three. Yeah, and you might build up to having 5 or 6 different sources of income. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I would start with just getting one right first. People want to go from 0 to 5.
I actually talked about this the other night with someone as well, and it might be sort of appropriate for this conversation as well. But do you, the whole idea about in business getting it towards a spot of like 75% of the way, not getting it towards like a perfection state or anything where you've got it all down pat. I kind of feel like that kind of comes into my thinking when I'm doing some of this. Can you maybe talk about that a little bit further, or what kind of measure you to put on yourself in regards to, okay, I've got this down pat. This is actually working. The engine's moving, the machine's working really well.
Cool.
What do you think?
Yep. Sure. Well, firstly, we shouldn't strive for perfectionism because it's never going to line up perfectly. So you're going to be waiting for an enormous amount of time. I know plenty of people who aren't able to take that first step because they're waiting for all the ducks to line up in a row. So firstly, I would encourage people to, learn the Pareto's principle, which is the 80-20 rule. And sometimes 80% is good enough.
I'll take 75.
The thing that you're going to sacrifice when you, well, there you go, 75-25, right? So this is now Moroni's principle, right? So in regards to moving over to a different venture, what you want to make sure is that you've got your first venture buttoned down from the point of view of you're going to be removing yourself from a time point of view. So have you got the systems, the process, the mechanisms in place to enable you then to go over to a second business, and so you can sit across the two of them and actually manage them with all the right reporting, so on and so forth. So it absolutely can be done. I'm in multiple businesses myself, and it can be done, but you have to put in place all the systems and mechanisms to be able to do that, because ultimately what you can't create any more of is your time. So it's about managing. Are you standing at the front door?
No, mate, this is a hotel in here. I've tried to find a quiet spot, but there's people walking over. I'm in a back room where they're actually having a wedding event later on tonight. So I've gone to a private room. It's not very private.
I'm only stirring. The thing that you can't create any more of is time. So that's the piece there. So you want to make sure that you've got the right systems and structure and process in business one to enable you to get to business two.
On the back of that, and sort of segueing across a little bit, but it's actually talking about diversification, but I'm diversifying the actual conversation right now into that sort of area of diversification. What do you think in terms of that? I'm sort of doing it on a property sense. I'll let this guy pass as I come through. Thanks, buddy. And I'm doing it in a property sense, and I'm talking about flipping and doing some multiple strategies when it comes to property.
Yeah.
What do you think in terms of that? While I've got Mum, Melinda, Raja, and a few Hassan. Thanks for joining us, everyone. What do you think around this?
Diversifying is very similar to what we talked about. There's nothing wrong with diversifying. In fact, I would encourage people to diversify. They talk about don't put all your eggs in the one basket. So, quite often people from an investment point of view will just put it all in on, property, but they might put it in on one property or they might focus on one suburb. And the idea is to diversify so that when things go up, others are down, and when those are down,
protect your risk,
yeah. So, no different from... Yeah, of course, mitigate your risk. And that same applies from a business point of view. There's nothing wrong with diversifying, but I just encourage you to have the systems and process in business one before you leap over to business two. Otherwise, what you're going to do is you're going to compound your problem. You're going to be trying to start business two, and you won't have business one at that 80% level. And again, it's not about perfection in business one, but it's about having enough in place to then manage it remotely, because your time is then going to be divided between business one and business two. And the same again with business three, and then perhaps you consider getting someone on board as like a general manager type role. So the bigger that you get, then you want to bring in people to help manage things
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
you.
And I think that's some really good insight for people, because I know me, I don't know if anyone knows about the DISC profile, but I'm quite a high I, so DISC, get that right.